Okay, for this video here, we're going to do another video on splitting up a width into any number of equal spaces. This here would be like a Cabinetmakers dovetail layout type of thing that they could use on a real piece of wood and very quickly get a perfectly symmetrical number of spaces across a piece of wood for doing dovetails. So to start this method off here, I'm going to first just construct a line across the top of the page here. I'll just draw a 4-inch line. So I'm going to go from 10 to 6. Again, I'm just doing this way because my space is limited here. So there's my 4-inch line, and I'm going to cheat on this step here. I'm going to bring down perpendiculars here. Now, ordinarily, I'd like you to do this geometrically, but for the sake of this here, I don't want to clutter up the drawing with some extra construction lines that aren't relevant. So if I'm just going to cheat a little bit here and just draw down and make that symmetrical. Okay, so for this method here, it's still based on the same idea of drawing an acute angle and then transferring equal spaced points up. But the difference on this one here is we're actually going to use the ruler and the numbers on the ruler to define our spacing. Okay, so what I do is I set the top point up here to 0. It doesn't have to be right on the top corner, it can be down just a bit. Okay, set it right up on 0, and then I'm going to swing the other side to be on 5. So you can see here I'm at 0 at this vertical line here, and then as I come down here, I'm perfectly on 5 here. So now what I'm going to do is at every single inch mark, I'm going to make a little line along the ruler and then a little line out to define that 1-inch mark. Okay, so I do a little line along the ruler and then a little line out, just so I have defined points as to what the increments are. So at 0 and 5, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 marks, which leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. Okay. So there is an easy way to do this, especially if the piece of wood is long enough. But first I'm just going to do the geometric way so we can try and get an exact precision on this. This is the 3rd or 4th time I've done this video, and I haven't really been exactly precise in any of those attempts. But we'll try again here and see what happens. So first thing I want to do here is set up on this very first point that I made. All right, and I'm just going to bisect or drop a perpendicular from that point to the side of the wall here, just so I can get an exact perpendicular distance off this point. So by setting my point here and then drawing an arc that intersects in 2 places, I have my isosceles triangle, which then I can take these 2 points and draw an arc above, and then from this point another arc out, and that will now create my perpendicular line. So I can just grab my ruler here now, or my straight edge, and connect from my point to that intersection. Right, I'm just going to connect it right through to here. There's no reason to draw the line straight out. I just want this perpendicular line from my point to the outside of my piece, or the edge. Right? And now that I have that, I will set up my compass. And this time here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my compass up to that perpendicular distance and right on my point. Okay? Now I can transfer down the page, or in this case down the piece of wood, and I set the compass on the point. And then when I scribe my arc, I am now basically creating a parallel line from this point. Right? I'll just draw this in up here just so you see it. But now that I'm set there and I draw this arc in, you can see it's intersecting there. So now I've just drawn in 2 points which create a parallel line to my outside edge. So then grabbing a color, I'm just going to use green for this. I can now take my straight edge and I can connect up. I'll just draw the line in just so we see it all the way down, nice and thin. And now you can see I'm just touching the tips of each of these, cutting through that first intersection point, which now equals my first division up here. Now, if your compass is accurate, what you can do is now set on the point you just created or have on that line, and I can draw another arc. And then from that arc, I cut up through the top of the arc and through my point. Okay, we'll draw another light line down through, and then repeat. Now you notice when I get over here, the line or the arc is getting very close to the point. So that's going to be hard to gauge where it's straight. The farther away they are, the better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip up to the top here, set my point on line, and draw another parallel arc. And then from there, I can connect through those 2 points, and just very lightly. And then I can go to the last point, which I'm going to do from up here as well. Draw my arc, and then cut the last point through. Okay. Now, if done perfectly and you hit all your points exactly, you would now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 perfectly spaced divisions of this piece of wood, which you could then work out your dovetails. Okay. Another way to kind of look at this is if I actually flip the ruler around, right, and I set this side on 0 and swing this side down to 5, right? And this is where you can tell exactly where I'm off a bit. But I could put another mark here, 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 and here, right? And then I would have 2 points that I could just connect to create that parallel lineup, okay? Now, the other option or issue with that is if I just put little ticks here right where 2 is, and then 1 right where 3 is, the only problem with this is these points are very close. So again, it's hard to get accuracy when the points are close, just because, you know, the farther away they are, the more accurate it's going to be. So that's the only issue with crossing them through like that, is you get some of the points that are close. It would still work for a lot of the stuff we do. But if the piece is long enough, if I have this set on 0 here and then 5 down here, what I could do at this point is, if the piece is long enough, I just slide it down much farther down the piece. And then I line up 0 here, and then off the page down here is 5 somewhere. And then I just do the same marks that I did up here. And then I would have a bunch of points that are a good distance away from each other that I could just connect up to the top. Right? And that would solve it out. And they would all be parallel. Now, if this is a piece of wood, what you do is just get a scribe, and you'd set the edge of the scribe. You could also use a combination square for this and mark it with a pencil. But you set the edge of the scribe or the combination square up, and then set in the distance to the first mark. Right? So you set that distance in. Then you take the scribe and you just notch in the piece all the way up to the top, or you take your combination square with your pencil, move it up to the top, and place your first mark. Then you just set this down and you just adjust that square out to hit the second point, right? And then same thing, you slide this up to the top and you mark your second point. And that's how you would do it on a piece of wood or something like that. But that is another method that you could use to equally divide a width. Now, some people ask, what if this piece of wood, say this piece of wood's 4 inches, but I want to divide this into, say, I don't know, let's say 8 pieces? Well, say my piece isn't long enough to get 8, because I mean my angle would be like way down like this. It would theoretically work. But technically what I could do for that, let's say 9 pieces, just for simplicity here. And let's make it even easier. Let's say 10 pieces, right? So if I go to the 5 here, just trying to keep my math simple. So if I go to the 5 and I know I want 10 spaces, well, all you'd really have to do is, once that's set up, is just mark every 1/2 inch, right? if you mark every 1/2 inch all the way up your piece, that would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal spaces. And then alternatively, if this was say 4 inches wide and you wanted to split this up into say 3 spaces, you notice on the ruler that 3 by no way is going to fit across the piece because the piece is 4 inches long. Well, in that kind of case, what you could do is, let's say, set it up at 6. Right now, you won't be able to see the 6 down here, but I'm just going to show you what I mean here. If I line this up at 6 and I want to divide this into 3, all I would do is I would mark 2 inches and then 4 inches. Right? So there's a mark at 4 inches. There's a mark at 2 inches. Now, I'm going to flip this around and put this side down to 6. So I'm at 0 and 6 again. And I can mark 2 and 4. And now if I wanted to, I could connect these points and connect these points. And that would be from this point here and this point here, that would be 1, 2, 3 spaces that are perfectly spaced on 3. Right? So it doesn't matter if the piece is too wide or too narrow or whatever, for however many divisions you want to do, all you have to do is just change your increment that you're deciding to use. Either shrink it up to be 1/2 or 1/4 or whatever, or you grow it to be 2 or 3 or whatever you need to accommodate the spacing that you desire. And that is an alternate way to adjust a width to be any number of equal pieces.